Hello, my name is Kirsty. Welcome to Kirsty Knits and Sews. It is so lovely to be back here sharing with you again the things that I have been making. I live in Tarnów in Poland with my husband and my kids, but I'm from Australia. And yeah, so I knit, I sew, I crochet, I spin, and today I have knitting. I don't think I have crochet or spinning, although I have been spinning, and just a few different things to talk about. I have some knit-alongs that I'm participating in and also that I'm hosting. There is a tea knit-along currently running over at the Kirsty Knits and Sews Ravelry page. If you're not on Ravelry and you want to participate, you can just comment down below here that you are knitting a tea and what you're doing and that you're not on Ravelry, and I will put your name in for the prizes when we do prizes at the end. That's running, it started on the 1st of May and goes till the 30th of June. And it's just knit on a tea. You don't have to start it in that time. You don't have to finish it in that time. It's just knit on a tea. And tea is also being loosely interpreted to include 3/4 length sleeves or to include no sleeves. Like a tank would still be a tee for this knit along. And it's just to encourage you to knit tees as we move into summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. For those in the Southern Hemisphere, there are still people in Australia that I know who are participating, but yeah, it's definitely not moving into tea weather for most of Australia at the moment. Yeah, so anyway, that is the knit along. If you're interested, join on in. There is a link to the Ravelry, both chatter thread and finished object thread, in the description box down below. The chatter thread I will draw a prize from at the end, and the finished object thread I will as well, but you don't have to finish to participate. What else is there? I think that's really the only admin stuff I have. I am going to jump in, but I just thought the last thing that I posted here was a stash stats and plans check-in. If you haven't seen that and you're interested to know how I'm tracking for my yearly goals, go back and check that out. But during that, I did ask, are people interested as I'm working through my stash knitting-wise? I'm also going to be working through my stash sewing-wise. And so I said, is anyone interested in seeing the sewing projects as I'm kind of start pumping them out too? Pumping them out may be a bit of a strong phrase. And overwhelmingly, everyone said yes, absolutely. So I thought what I'm going to do is I am still planning to record a whip episode. I haven't had time yet, but I am planning to record a whip episode where I go through all of my knitting and crochet projects. And then I thought maybe I could do the same with sewing, but that seems even more overwhelming than doing it with knitting and crochet. So what I thought I'd do instead, I was talking to, I hope I don't get this wrong, Kathryn, of My Making Adventure. I will link her down below. And she said you could just do like the 5 you're going to work on first. So I'm not going to do that today, but what I am going to do is I have boxes, which I showed very quickly during the Stash Stats and Plans check-in. And so I'm just going to pull down a box and I'm going to walk you through what's in that box, and then I'm going to work on those things and see what I can progress in that box. But I'm not going to do that today because I already have plenty to talk about today and not a huge amount of time to talk about it in. So I will do a separate episode for that, and then I will talk about it as I'm making them during my normal episodes. All right, so what have I made? I haven't even checked. I've got 4 finished objects to show you, and then I also have a lot of things that I've been working on and progressing, as well as 2 new cast-ons in addition to the 4 finished objects, because 3 of the finished objects were new since I last recorded. So let me show you all the fun. Oh, I'm also going to share at the end about a little bit of making plans and also about some knit-alongs that I am participating in case anyone else is interested in participating in them as well. So the first thing that I have finished, which I finished, actually I can tell you, I started it May 8th and I finished it May 13th. So it was a quick knit, and it is something that I kind of was talking about in my check-in. So full disclosure, it took a little while to edit the check-in video. Not physical hours to edit it, but ability to edit it, because we lost electricity for almost a week, so I couldn't actually edit it. I just finished the other one and uploaded it, and then the next day when I went to edit this stats check-in, we lost electricity and I couldn't use the computer for a week. So that's edited and uploaded, but I have done a lot since I recorded that episode. One of the things that I spoke about during the check-in was thinking of using acrylic scraps to make a scrappy crochet basket. Now, scrappy crochet baskets are something that is a free pattern tutorial by My Poppet Makes. I've made plenty before. This is linked below. I'm actually not sure I linked the tutorial on the project page. I will go back and double check that. But yes, it's by My Poppet Makes. It's a free online tutorial. And I've made plenty of these. And most recently, Emily of Waldenburn has been making a lot of them because she's seen my ones that I've made and has been inspired. And I say that I've made, I've got two within like reaching distance right now of these baskets. Let me just show you instead of talking about it. So this is a scrappy crochet basket tutorial by My Poppet Makes, and it is customizable for as tall and as wide as you want it. This one I crocheted originally as a toy basket for my kids, and it now works as a knitting or crochet projects that I've been working on or finished. I chuck them in there. It's working well for me, actually. So I was like, I could make more crochet baskets. Then my husband said to me, can we get rid of this footstool? I hate this footstool. It was an IKEA footstool that goes with, I don't know if you know IKEA well, but there's this particular type of chair that's like a lounger, and it's just a piece of wood that's kind of in this shape, and then you have something like a pad sitting on that you sit on. And it comes in all sorts of different colours. Now we inherited this one, we inherited a chair and a stool from our friends, and it was this brown kind of carpety feel to it. And when I got it, my thought was I can cover that with fabric and make it really pretty. Never did. When we moved here, there were two of those chairs already in this house, so we left the brown one in the old house with the permission of the owner, and brought the footstool because I used the footstool. And it sat there and I used it, but it was ugly and it was big and it was taking up a lot of room. And so when my husband said, can we just get rid of it? I was like, I mean, we can, but I do want something to put my feet on. And then the light went off and I thought, why don't I make a scrappy crochet basket that is enclosed as a footstool? And I did. And like I said, it took less than a week. It was 5 days, 8th to the 13th of May. It was very, very quick. And then I used the pad from the footstool was foam. And so I put that in here, cut it down to size. And so the pad goes almost the whole way around because I basically cut it in half. I used the covering for the pad to stuff this, as well as another cushion insert that we weren't using anymore, as well as some old clothes that had holes in them that were not worth repairing because either the holes were so big or the kids were no longer going to wear them. Anything else I put in here? I'm not even sure. I may, if I did, I will put it up here now. I may have taken some footage while I was stuffing it to show you. It may have been a photo to show you what I stuffed it with. I did also find we had some black fabric that I got really cheap in like a pay $10 for 5 kilos of fabric kind of thing at one point, and we've been using that fabric as blackout curtains for our doors. And we don't need that here, at least we haven't needed that yet. And so I also used some of that to stuff it. So I just kind of, for a few days, collected scraps of things that I would otherwise have thrown out and stuffed it in here. It was so satisfying to both use up the acrylic, have something that is very functional and useful, and also yeah, stuff it with fabric that otherwise would have been landfill. In terms of doing it, I followed the tutorial exactly until I got to the height that I wanted. And then I just basically did a reverse of the bottom. So the bottom, you increased at intervals evenly 6 times throughout. So the tutorial will tell you more, but you have 6 increases per round at the bottom. And so at the top, I did 6 decreases per round. And I just did, it's single crochet, isn't it? Yeah, so I just did 2 single crochet together. So crochet into one, crochet into the next, and then finish those 2 stitches together rather than finishing each one individually. And that's how I got, it did spiral. I realized I was probably doing it, if I wanted it to be straight, I needed to do 1 stitch earlier than I was decreasing, but I was doing the decrease, I don't even know anymore. I was doing the decrease as I was crocheting 2 together, the one before and the one of the previous decrease. If I wanted it to be straight, I think I should have been doing the one of and the one after the decrease, but maybe that would have just spiraled the opposite direction. I don't do enough crochet to know these things. This, as I said, has been brilliant. I've used it almost every single day since I finished it. My kids have used it as a seat, as a plaything. They love putting it this way and just like running and rolling on it. It is getting a little bit squished out of shape because of that. But I have to say, it doesn't feel like it needs restuffing. And for the amount that they've been sitting on it and I've been using it, and even I've occasionally been sitting on it, it's kept its shape incredibly well. It did take a lot to stuff it, and my hands were a little bit sore from how much I was pushing stuff in, and it's still, like, it's still squishy, it's still soft. But yeah, I think the foam has definitely helped it keep its shape. If I hadn't had foam, I would not have used foam. I wouldn't have gone and bought it. I wouldn't have thought of it. But I think definitely the foam is helping with the shape. So there you go. Apologies, my dog is barking. We just got a delivery. Or getting a delivery. So that is that. I'm going to put that on the ground here. It is... Oh, yeah, there we go. I just bumped the camera. It is massive. That one, I am happy to announce, was 844 grams of acrylic. I'm so happy with that. My acrylic is down to fitting into 2 tubs again. One is acrylic that is for a blanket that I'm making, and so my acrylic scraps leftovers is down to 1 tub. Oh, I did want to say, I didn't do an all over scrappy for this one. I was thinking in particular leaving this in one of the rooms that has a chair that is kind of a citrusy mustard yellow colour. And so I started with that, and I thought I've got lots and lots of plain grey, and I had this navy blue that's in here, which was like a fluffy acrylic blue, which I was like, I'm not going to use that in a blanket or something, so let's get rid of that. So I started that, used up a tiny scrap in the middle, and then went into the citrusy yellow that was left over from a blanket. Then I went into the next citrusy yellow, which was, actually maybe one of them came from my friend, the other one was from a blanket. Anyway, when I finished that, I then had a fingering weight yellow. Oh, by the way, I did this on a size 8mm crochet hook. I did use Tullipatimo. I really like Tullipatimo crochet hooks. I also like, I have some hooks from Kmart Australia, which I also use a lot and enjoy. But I only have an 8mm in the tulip one. Yeah, so I did this, the equivalent of 4 DK weight held together the whole way through, but I mixed it up, and so I was usually holding 4, sometimes 5 strands. The pale yellow was a fingering weight, so I just held that double, pulled from either end, and I did manage to finish that, which made me very happy. And so I was basically doing a grey, I tried to have a strand of dark, and so I did the strand of dark through the rainbow, and so that's the blue, green, and then maroon and pink that you see down here. And then I tried to have a strand of yellow. I don't know why I decided yellow needed to be through the whole thing, except that it was trying to match a yellow chair. And so when that ran out, I then started using the white scraps that I had because that was the closest to the pale yellow. And then here is where I ran out of a dark strand. And I actually really love this with the white and the pink and the grey together. I think that's beautiful. Definitely would love a basket like that. But yeah, so that's why there's just a very pale section at the bottom, because I had no more dark coloured acrylic that was not set aside for a blanket. Alright, I'm going to see if I can put this down without bumping the camera again. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have project pages for Ravelry linked below, and so the information about how many strands is holding together, crochet hook size, all of that is down there. I do have some tea today. This is in a cup that I actually won from Tea Leaves Australia as a Mother's Day gift, a Mother's Day giveaway 5 years ago, I want to say. I think it was 5 years ago. It may have been 3 years ago. But I do love it. So I've got some tea there. And I also have an iced coffee because we're in iced coffee weather and it's amazing. Alright. Was that my first finish? Oh, actually, I finished these two things on the same day. The second thing I finished on that day is what I'm wearing. The V back tee. You can see that I'm not wearing it with the V on the back. I'm wearing the V on the front, which means that I have, can I even do this? Just a rounded collar on the back. This tee is one that I started for the tea knit along that I am hosting. And I started it on the 1st of May and I finished it on the 13th of May, which means 2 weeks to knit this entire tee while I was also crocheting the basket and doing other things. This tee was so much fun. First of all, the yarn. I do have a little bit of leftovers. So it's Footprints Wool Addicts by Lang Yarns, yep. And I believe that means it's colour number 2, but I could have that wrong. Anyway, that's the information if that's not the right colour. It is, yeah, I don't have any more information about the colour name. This is what I have left. So this one, I think I did the yoke, I split for the sleeves, and after knitting around, what did I do? Oh, yes, okay, I understand. I split for the sleeves. The beginning of round for the sweater is actually at the top, or like on the sleeve, not at the back. So when you split for the sleeves, you have to break the yarn and reattach it. So when I did that, I reattached it with the second ball because I didn't want to have an extra tail that I didn't need. And I knit a couple of rounds with the new ball, and then I went back with the first ball that I used for the yoke, and I attached that, and I did one sleeve, and then I did the next sleeve, and the sleeves are quite short, so they did not take long at all, but it meant that that's what I had left from the first ball after doing the yoke and both sleeves. And then I could just knit through the rest. All right, sorry, I just had to take a phone call and I'm not entirely sure what I was saying, but I'm pretty sure it was about the yarn. This is my first time that I've used Footprints at all. I bought it just because I thought it looked fun and I was in the mood to make summer tops. And I was like, yep, cool, cotton wool. It is a, let's see, 45% cotton, 42% wool, 13% nylon yarn. So maybe I could have made socks out of it. Oh well. I wanted to try it for a top, and I've had the pattern, the V-back tee by Jamie Hoffman in my library for years. I think it was one of the first patterns I bought on Ravelry. So there's been an update. There's so many sizes, like 13 or 16 sizes now for this tee. I found it very, like, I'm pretty sure it was very easy to read the pattern and to do it. There was a lot of information because I had so many sizes, but it wasn't difficult. And so I cast it on the 1st of May as part of the knit along, and I did show you a little bit of progress on my last episode, but I couldn't put it down. So let's talk about construction a bit. It does have this little bit of extra fabric here. Shauna from Shauna Stitches had said the same thing on her one, and she made hers a while ago. But I didn't make any modifications on it. I tend to not make modifications on patterns when I don't understand the construction the first time I make them. So if you're interested, I can tell you what I would probably do differently next time. And I do say next time, I have worn this shirt every day since I blocked it. I only trimmed the ends this morning, and I found one place that I didn't actually tie in an end, so I've got to do that. But every day since I've blocked it, I have been wearing this shirt. I absolutely love it. It is a great temperature. I'm just wearing it with jeans. I don't know if you can see that. Just wearing it with jeans. It definitely is a loose fit the way that I've done it. I think I did, I don't know, I want to say size 6 is the one that I knit. And I would probably do the same again. It fits really nice up the top, and I am very happy with a loose fit around my waist when I'm wearing it with jeans in summer. Absolutely. What I would do differently. So there is some decreases up here, because when you're knitting it, you're increasing in the middle, and you're knitting and knitting, and you're getting a bigger and bigger yoke. And you're also doing increased rows on the back to get the back to the size that you need. And I'm saying back, technically I'm wearing it back to front, and the back should be at the front and the front should be at the back, but I just have been really enjoying the V-neck at the front. In fact, I've never worn it the other way. I've only worn it this way. So there are increases on the rounded edge to get that to the size you need, and you're also increasing to get this V shape continuing down the front of the shirt. At some point, there's so much fabric that you have too much fabric for your shoulders, and so you need to start decreasing, because once you get here, you start not needing extra decreases. So you start extra increases. So you start decreasing somewhere up here. There we go. So here, you start decreasing down the sleeve. And so until you split for the sleeves, you end up with this little decrease row. Totally fine. However, I think for me, that row starts too far out. So that row starts here, and my shoulder finishes here. So I would probably start that decrease row an inch, 2 inches earlier. And I may even do a second increase, did I say increase row, decrease row? I would probably do a second decrease, maybe even, to just bring that up a little bit. But maybe just the one started earlier would do the same job. That is probably the only difference that I would make. Let me see. Yeah, that's probably the only change I would make. However, if I did that starting 2 inches earlier, that would make the sleeve that much less wide. And I honestly don't remember right now if you actually, I think you do cast on stitches underneath for the sleeve. So maybe I would just cast on a few extra stitches or something. But yeah, that would be the only change I would make. The other thing that I did do, because by the time I finished my yoke, I think I was measuring much longer than the pattern said. And so the yoke increases and did this many repeats and stuff. So my gauge was probably a bit off. It always is. I don't gauge swatch. That's fine. So at that point, I was like, I don't know if I knit as far as it says under the sleeves before I do the short rows. Is that going to be a problem, or is that going to end up with a really, really long t-shirt? And so it said if you want a shorter t-shirt, then knit less at that point. It said if you want a longer t-shirt, knit through the pattern as it says, and then add some rows down the bottom. So what I did, actually before I stand up, what I did was I actually did it like I wanted it shorter, and I did less rows before I did the short rows, started the short rows. Once I'd finished the short rows, I tried it on and decided I did actually want a little bit more length. And so then I did a few rows, which is almost vanilla knitting, where you're making a slip stitch in the middle to keep that pattern going through. But other than that, it's just straight knitting to make it longer. And so if I hadn't adjusted the length before I did short rows, I wouldn't have had to have adjusted the length afterwards. It would have been perfect for where I wanted it to sit. But, you know, that's fine. I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to re-knit the short rows if I did end up with too long. And so that's fine. Next time I would just do what it says in terms of length. I will say I was really excited about this top because I was like, look, it's got this fun V-neck thing. That's so cool. And it's just vanilla knitting. Like, it's all stockinette, so it's fine. It's knit in the round, bottom up, top down. Perfect. Great. Let's knit it. I didn't account for the fact that when you get to the bottom, you have all this extra length on the front, then the back. And so you do short rows all down here, like you can see here. So you do short rows and then short rows back to pick them up. And so you end up, this whole section here is knit flat, basically, because you're doing short rows. And they're not short rows. At one point, it's like every stitch but 3 is in the short row. So they're long rows. Yeah. So I hadn't accounted for that. And when I got to the point in the pattern that I realized that that was a thing, I kind of was like, do I just put it aside and come back to it later? Or do I just kind of push through this? And I decided to just kind of keep going, obviously, because it's finished. But yeah, at that point, I'd taken it to people's houses when we're having barbecues and lunch with them. The short rows I knew that I couldn't do out. I had to be able to focus. And so I just kept that in my, like in the morning when I was listening to the Bible, I would do the short rows. And it wasn't hard, it just was long because there were a lot of short rows and a lot of stitches for those short rows. But yeah, I'm really happy that I did it to the point that I would consider doing it again. So yeah, there you go. V-back tee. I'm really happy with the way that the yarn knit up. I love that you can see very much that V going down. I love it so much that I did consider jumping online and seeing if I could get some more of this in a different colour. My husband also loves the shirt, so win-win. But I haven't done that because I don't want more yarn. So I'm not buying more. I may at some point consider doing it with Stash, finding something else that I can do with it. But for right now, I just thought of something. No, I'm not going to do it. I have the yarn. Sorry, not the yarn. I have the top. It did end up taking 182 grams of yarn for the size 6 with the length in the end that the pattern called for. So yeah, there you go. If you're interested, can recommend. The other thing that I'll say about this pattern, it has a tubular bind off, but it just says invisible bind off or invisible something bind off. And at one point in the pattern it calls it tubular, but the rest of the time it calls it invisible bind off. It's the same thing. I've done tubular enough to know when they were like, this is how you do it. I'm like, okay, it's a tubular bind off, not a problem. Maybe invisible bind off sounds less scary to people. It's not a hard bind off to do. If you're interested, absolutely go for it. And I even did, I believe, yeah, I did the Italian cast on for the first time. I followed the pattern and it was really easy. So I'm like, next time that I want to cast on a hem or something, I will totally do an Italian cast on if I think of it. The cast off, I don't know where I'd cast off. But I had the length of yarn and it wasn't quite long enough, so I ended up with about 2 inches that I hadn't cast off. When I ran out of yarn, I just sewed that end in, started with another piece and sewed both those ends in. So I have one section where it's like this much is a separate bind off piece of yarn, but you cannot tell. It worked really well, and so I thought that next time it makes it so much easier, because normally I end up with like a huge amount left over, and for this top, for some reason I didn't. Maybe I did 3 times, not 4 times, or whatever it was. Maybe I was just doing it a bit looser the whole way because I knew that it was going to be around my hips. Whatever it is, I needed to get another piece of yarn, and I did, and it's fine. So there you go. Alright, so I finished this on the 13th of May, as well as the scrappy footstool puff thing. Then I was like, what else do I need for the house? And we needed coasters. Now, a while ago, I had decided to try and make some coasters. I can't tell if this is, I think this is stained. Oh well, we've been using them. I decided to try and make some coasters, and I was looking online for some coaster patterns, and I found a free online tutorial thing. Thought it was pretty. I bookmarked it. I came back and tried it, and I hated it. I did not enjoy it whatsoever. And out of all the coasters patterns that I'd seen on Ravelry that were free, because I don't tend to buy patterns for things that are that small, I didn't like any of the other ones. A few days later, I was like, we really need coasters. So I had another look, and I found a different pattern, which was also free and was super easy to follow. It was a pattern, again, it'll be linked to my project page down below. I cannot remember who did this one. But it had 2 different types of coasters, and so I made one type of coaster, and this is what it looks like. Super, super easy, super quick. I think I maybe did it over 2 days, like I started in the evening. Maybe I did one in one day and then started a second one. But yeah, very simple in terms of patterns. They had it written and charted, and so I just followed the chart. My second one, however, I did different. You can see it's smaller. I accidentally did 12 in the center, not 16 in the center, because I wasn't following the pattern properly. And so that one ended up smaller. Still fine, still works, just smaller. And so then I made another 4 according to the pattern. So I now have a set of 5 and a small one. These have been great. They have definitely done the job. We use them every single day, which is why some of them may have a bit of a stain on them. Altogether, it was 34 grams of yarn for the 6 of these. I believe when I measured 6 times 8 would be 48, 6 times 6, 36. I think there was 6 grams each, and then that one may have been a little bit less because I used less yarn. Yeah, so I think there was 6 grams for the full size. The yarn that I used is this one, which is a Colin. It's by Yardable. Probably not how you say that either. And this is colour 28110. This is the same yarn that I used for one of my tees that I made a few years ago, and I decided I didn't want another tee in this yarn. I'm not a huge fan of just cotton yarn. Cotton merino apparently I love, but plain cotton, not a huge fan. So I wanted to find something different to do with that. I had 4 50 gram balls, and so one of them was mostly used up. I mean, more than halfway used up with this, so I counted that as a skein out. While I was making them, so they took 2, like I started 14th, finished on 16th, so 2.5 days to make. While I was making them, excuse me, my daughter came up to me and said, "Mummy, can you make a dress for Bunny? Can you knit Bunny a dress?" This is a little, just a little bunny that we got in like an Easter egg hunt thing. And so she said, can you make Bunny a little dress? And I thought, sure, I can make Bunny a little dress. And so I just sat there in a few minutes, and crocheted up this little dress for Bunny, which I'm just gonna take it off, is really very simple. I just did a chain, and I just did a chain 1 in every bit of the chain, and then the next row I just chained a few for an armhole at the right spot, and then the next row I did double crochet, and when I got to the armhole I just did a few in the armhole section. I did, pretty sure it's all double crochet, and I did do a couple of increases later on in the bottom row to make it flare out a little bit. But yeah, super duper easy. My daughter was very happy and has been playing with this bunny a lot since then. The bunny came as a set of 12 different toys, and this is the only one she's asked me to make clothes for. But that may change. We'll see. So there is Bunny and her dress. That took 3 grams of yarn, and not very long at all. So that is finish number 4. V-back tee, scrappy crochet, puff, crochet coasters, and the bunny dress. They are all of my finishes since the last time I saw you. Yeah, so that one, such a tiny finish. So going on with the theme of the colon yarn. Sorry, had another interruption there. So I was trying to figure out what else we needed for the house. I was a little bit sad that these only took 36 grams when I had 4 balls of this. And so I thought, what else can I make? Now, a while ago I shared about a tablecloth that I am knitting. I haven't touched that again, but when I was sharing about that and trying to find a pattern and finally finding this book online and buying it, someone who watches here reached out to me and said, hey, we have a whole bunch of vintage crochet and knitting patterns at our local op shop, charity shop, and if you're okay with it, I'd love to buy some and send them to you. And I was like, that is so generous. Thank you so much. Yes, I would absolutely accept some vintage knitting and crochet patterns. And so I got this very special parcel. She included a little bit of alpaca fibre to spin from her local area, and a mini, and just a whole bunch of magazines and a couple of books and a couple of like leaflet things for vintage and crochet patterns. Sorry, vintage knitting and crochet patterns. And so I had a look through them, and there are some beautiful patterns there. There was one that's like little crosses, bookmarks, and I would love to make some of them. But unfortunately, the practicality of needing things won out over the I want to sit down and play with the colours and the pattern. However, in this book here, or in this magazine, Treasure Chest of Crochet, Star Book number 45, and 10 cents. Gives you a bit of an idea of how old this would be. I actually have no idea when this one was published. I wonder if they do say 1946, the American Thread Company. What's that? 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 0, 80 years ago? Is that right? This is 80 years old? That is just even more exciting right now. So in here, were hot plate mats. Let me cover up the pattern part. I don't know if this is in or out of copyright yet. But yeah, so that's the pattern. Like, that's what I'm making. And it's hot plate mats. And I have to say, it's kind of fun. So it's designed to be held double with like a pearl thread. So I'm just holding it single with this, and it says steel crochet hook number 5, which I looked up, and I think it's like a 1.75 millimeter, and the smallest one that I had was a 2.5 millimeter. This is not Tulip. This is like a crochet hook set off Temu, and it's working fine. It's not my favorite, but it's working fine. So it's not the right yarn, it's not the right size hook, And then I was going to do a round one. So you can see here, there's round and oval. And I was going to do a round one because I thought then I can put pots and stuff on. And I started reading the instructions for round. And it just says, like, chain this many, join, work this many single chains, and then just work 4 more rows, increasing as you need to keep it flat. And I thought, all right, maybe if I go back and do the other one first, I'll get an idea of increase rates and things like that. And so I decided to start with the oval mat, mostly because I thought maybe that was the first pattern in the book, in the magazine. And so if I started with that one, it would give me more information. And kind of it did, in that the first 2 rows were like, do this many knit, like do this many straight, do this many increases. But after the first row, it also says work, or maybe first 2 rows, it says work 3 more rows, increasing at ends as necessary to keep work flat. And I thought, all right, we're just in an old school magazine where people are expected to know how to do this. And I do know how to do this. I've done, like, I'm got my feet right now on a rug that I literally, increase to keep it flat. The scrappy baskets increases regularly and it creates a hexagon, but it's to keep it flat. So at this point I was like, all right, I've committed to the oval one. I'm going to make the oval one and I'm going to see what I can do to increase to keep it flat. So this is what I have done so far. I've done the first section of bobbles. There are now a section of plain and then another section of bobbles, then there'll be another section of plain, and then there'll be one final row of bobbles before a border. So yeah, the bobbles are pretty simple to do. It's not the way that I would do it if I was designing it, but I'm pretty sure it works. Like, I'm not sure if the way that I would naturally do it would work as well as this way. So yeah, very, very happy with that. I can see that's going to provide some protection for the table because they're called popcorn stitches are going to keep the heat off the table. And I am happy that I'm doing an oval one because we do have a lot of things that we put on the table that are oval shaped. So it will absolutely get used. I'm hoping that I can go back and do a round 1 or 2 afterwards as well. But yeah, very happy with that. It is slow going. It is quite a tight gauge, even with the larger hook. And I'm pretty sure it's meant to be a tight gauge because you want protection from the heat. So I was doing, like, trying to do 1 row per night when I sat down with my husband to watch some TV, before I moved on to whatever else I was doing. But we haven't been watching TV at night because we've been busy setting the house up. So, or we've had night meetings and things. So I will get back to this, but I haven't worked on it for a few days. I'm expecting it'll take a while. I mean, if it's what, let me think. I'm going to say, I'm thinking it'll take a while, but if I look at this logically, I've got, let's see, 3, 6, 10, 11, maybe 12 or 13 rows left. So if I do go back to doing 1 every day, then that'll take 2 weeks to finish, which isn't that long when I'm not focusing on it. But yeah, thank you so much. I didn't check if I can say her name. I don't think she has a YouTube channel here. I did check and I don't remember seeing one. But yes, thank you. You know who you are for sending me all the different magazines, and this is just the first that I have chosen to do. All right. Before I actually started that one, this next one I did start, I have also made progress on my teas, which I will show you in a minute. But I did start this one. So when I did the stash update, I mentioned that I was going to try not to cast anything else on, and you can see how well that's done. I've cast on 5 things since I said that. But I did also qualify that by saying, except for things that I need around the house or birthday knits or things like that. So this one is potentially a birthday knit. The birthday for this one is in about 2 weeks, and I have not done a huge amount. So yarn first. This is a giant cotton acrylic cake. I think it has 1,500 yards. Oh, did I not have it? No, I do. Let's see. So this is kolorowe zwiki. It is 420 grams, 1,500 meters. It's a 4-ply, and it's 50% cotton, 50% acrylic. I bought this, it was in December, I believe. In Wrocław, there was a yarn show, and I saw this, and I thought that would be great for my daughter. And so I bought it, and it has sat there since then. It has this little button on it so that you can find the center of the yarn, but I don't pull from the center, and my daughter's favorite color is pink. And if I started from the center, I wouldn't have got to the pink in this project. So I started from the outside, and this is what I have got so far. I love this stitch pattern. It is not hard to do. It is a bit tricky because the 4 plies of this yarn, like they're not actually plied. They're 4 strands that are just being held together. So it is very splitty because it's not actually plied together. So I've got some plain stockinette here, and then the front of the dress has this really beautiful pattern. It is a dress. It's called the Hanami dress by, I think it's Frogginet Knitting Patterns. If it's not, I will put the name on screen, but I'm pretty sure it's Frogginet Knitting Patterns or Frogginet Knitting. I've done another one of her patterns to make my daughter a shrug, a bolero. And so, yes, I had this pattern. I bought it when it was on sale. And when I was looking for dresses for my daughter, I showed her one that Jana of Finished Knitting Stories had done for her daughter. And it was all different stripes. And I said, but it wouldn't be stripy. It would be like an ombre. And she's like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that one. And I'm not sure if she wasn't a fan of the style or if she wasn't a fan of the colors. But when she saw this one that was done in a solid, but it had this patterning on it, she went, that's the one I want. And it's a high-waisted with a welt around the waist and then just a long dress. So I thought, yep, that's fine. Like, I showed her only the patterns that I actually owned. And so she picked one that I owned. I cast it on. I haven't done a huge amount. So yeah, she knows it's coming. She doesn't know it's a birthday present. I cast it on, and I've just worked on it a little bit here and there. If I'm going to get it done in 2 weeks, I need to work on it a lot more. So yes, I started to move this into a bit more of an everyday knitting pile. Yeah, I started that on the 14th of May. So I started it a week ago. Yeah, a week ago, and I've done that little, and I have 2 weeks to finish it. Once I get to the skirt, I expect it will be much quicker because it will just be vanilla knitting. I don't know if there are increases in the skirt, but if there are, it's not every row. So yeah, I'm excited to get that going, and it would be great if I could get that done for her birthday. I do not expect to use all of that yarn for her dress. And so if I have leftover and I have got about half left, then I'll just probably start another dress for her and finish that yarn off. The colours that are in the middle are not going to be her favourite colours. Let's have a look. She does like blue, but I'm expecting that like we'll get the purple, the pale grey, sorry, the pink, the pale grey and the purple in the dress. And then I'll be left with the blue, the brown and the, I don't know if it's technically white or pale pink in there. And so she likes blue, it's sparkly. I could definitely make it for her, but whether or not I will, or if I'll save that for later, I'm not sure. So yes, I'm working on that one. I wrote a list last night of all the different things that I would like to get done for deadlines in the next little bit to have a look at them. Completely unrealistic, so I'm going to try. All right, the other things that I have been working on. I have a pair of vanilla socks that is part of the 12 cast-ons. Now, I haven't mentioned this yet, but I will in a second. I will now, but there is another project coming up. 12 cast-ons is a knit along hosted by Ange of Yarn and Yarns, where you cast on up to 12 things in between the Christmas Eve and the end of January the following year, and then you work on them throughout the year. So you can't, if you're not already participating, you can't join in now, but watch out for next year, or for this year. At the end of the year, we'll be doing it again. And I know I just spoke in my stats check-in about not starting a whole lot of new stuff and wanting to get my whips down, but yeah, I'm going to be joining in again. Anyway, so this was day 10. I do a cast on a day. Some people will cast on 3 in a day, or 4 in a day, or 1 every few days. I do a cast on a day. And so my day 10 cast on was starting 15 pairs of socks. I only started 5 on that day, but there were a list of 15 that I wanted to knit in the year. And so this is one of those 15 pairs of socks. Now, my plan for that was to knit them in the year for Christmas presents this year. That is no longer going to happen. They are now going to be Christmas presents for next year, which means I do have until the end of the year to knit them. I don't have to send them off to Australia halfway through. But it also means, yeah, I'm doing gift knitting for next year, which just so great. Anyway, so this is the first sock of this one. This is Hobby Christmas Sock Wool Glitter. It's a 73-25 wool poly and 2%, 25 polyamide and 2% polyester, which is that sparkle. Now, I've mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of this wool. I'm not sitting here saying, definitely go buy this wool. I bought a whole bunch when I first moved to Poland. It's from Hobby, so Hobbii. I started knitting with it. I didn't like it. I ended up knitting a pair for my husband that he didn't really wear. Although I think he's claimed back now and has been wearing them. I think he has. I knit a pair for my son. He loves them. And so I'm still knitting them, but it's not like it's a tough wool feel. And I think it's made a little bit scratchier by the glitter in that. Like, it's quite a thick glitter and you can definitely feel that. So I'm knitting it. I don't hate it. It's just not, it's not my favorite. I wouldn't recommend. I am on the second sock of this one. So that's where I'm at. I keep track of how many stitches I do in a sock with these markers on the front. I mark them every 10 rows. I do a different color, or sometimes I'll have a different stitch marker entirely when I get to the heel and when I get to the toe. And that just helps me make sure that both socks match. So let's see, I've got 3 rows. I've got 7 rows before I do the heel on the second sock. This one has just been in my bag, and I've been like in my backpack that I take around with me. So when I have a few minutes and I don't have anything else to do, I just pick it out and knit on it. That one, day 10 of 12 cast-ons. I think that is I think I've completed 2 of the 15 socks. I did take this, I went to the movies, I went to see Devil Wears Prada 2, and I have to say, there wasn't anything in it that was like overtly ick, which was really nice. It was great. So yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I took this, I tried to get the second sock cast on so that I could take it to the movies and just do vanilla knitting, and I did not get there. And so when I was watching the previews, I was doing the cuff and trying to get it done to get to the vanilla knitting, and I didn't make it in the previews, which I wasn't going to really, but I tried. And so then in the movie, I was still doing 2x2 rib in the dark, and at one point, I don't know if I dropped a stitch or if I like picked up 2 and I tried to undo it, whatever it was, I was like, I just made a mistake and I can't fix it in the movies. And it was pretty full theatre, so I didn't want to like get out my light and try and fix it. Like, if it was just me and my friend, I probably would have, but pretty full cinema, so I didn't do that. And so then I just sat and watched the movie for the rest of the movie, which was actually kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, So if it was just vanilla, it would have been fine, but doing ribbon in the dark is a bit harder. So yeah, I did make a bit of progress on the second sock. Also while editing, I think. So now for some more progress. So this is back to the Tee Knit Along and what I'm doing for the Tee Knit Along. Alright, this is a bag that I made. I have a tutorial here if you want to learn how to make bags. All the information you need for it is on the tutorial. There's not like a separate pattern to purchase or something like that. And it is for a bag that's a bit smaller than this, but I do mention in the tutorial how to change the size of the bag. So this is a bag that I made. The fabric is from Spotlight Australia. And the zipper is also from Spotlight Australia. And I don't know how well you'll see this, but it's missing teeth at both ends. They have been falling off. Now the zip, I'm pretty sure it was like $2. I got it on sale. And I thought, why are these being sold for $2? They're so fun. So I got a couple of these ones, and then there were a couple of rainbow gradient ones. And now I know, because both these ones and the rainbow gradient ones have been losing teeth. And so I probably will actually just chop the zip off this, not undo the bag, but just chop the zip off, and then get another zip and just sew it in so it'll have an exposed side. But yeah, I might just do that because this is getting ridiculous. Or I could just change the bag that I'm using and do with it later. We'll see. So this is the Alpine Bloom tee. Now this is a 12 cast-ons from 2025. So not this year's, last year's. And it was a spin to knit. So this is the yarn that I started spinning as part of 12 cast-ons. It is so beautiful. I love it. It's called Galaxy. I got it from Expressia Art here in Poland. It's hand dyed. It comes in 50-gram bumps. And I started with one bump and then was like, I'm going to need more than 50 grams. And so then I went and I bought another 3, and I ended up spinning about 180 grams of it in this spin, which is meant to be a contrast color for the yoke of a t-shirt. The 50 grams probably would have been enough. The 100 definitely would have been enough. But no, I spun like 3 times more than I needed. Anyway, this is what I have left. I have finished the color work and I still have this much left. Yeah, it's insane. So I'm definitely going to be thinking of something else that I can use that color for. Well, that's pretty. I'm not sure what yet, but something is going to be used. So this is the top. It's the Alpine Bloom by Caitlin Hunter. This is the first time I've knit the Alpine Bloom. Is that on the back? There you go. This is what it looks like at the moment. It is bunched up on the needles. So you can see I've done quite a bit after the yoke. It is a low contrast yoke. I did... and I've mentioned this before, but I've done it another couple of times since then. I have had to cut a little bit of the yarn out because you can see some of the yarn is very just orange. And so the times that I was like, that's indistinguishable from the main color, I did take a little bit out. So I have a whole bunch of little balls of like 1 or 2 grams in my bag. So yeah, I love it. I think it is beautiful. I'm very, very excited to get this done. I'm almost finished the second ball of the main color. The main color is Pasquale Pinta. And it's color 118. So it is 60% merino, 20% mulberry silk, 20% Ramier. It's the first time I've used this yarn. It is delightfully soft. I'm loving using it, and I'm hoping that I will love wearing it as well. Yeah, it is beautiful. It is definitely like puckering a little bit here, which I'm hoping will just block out. My hand spun is definitely very thin in places. And for the most part, I did this just traditional stranded colour work. There were a few times I did ladder back jacquard because it was a bit of a longer stretch. But for the most part, like there's only a few places where you have more than 5 stitches in a row of one colour. So really enjoying it. When I finish my second ball, I have 3 balls of the main colour. My plan is to put this on try it on cord, and with my second colour do the sleeves and finish the sleeves before I go back and finish the body. I think like I did with this one, it's just going to make it more likely that I will finish it quickly because the body is just stockinette. It's super easy at this point. The sleeves, you have to knit a few rounds, I think, and then you put it on hold and then you cast on the same as you did at the top and you do this pattern and then you kitchener it to the sleeves. So the sleeves, it does have just a simple do a 2x2 rib option, but I will do the pretty sleeves, which will just take a little bit longer. So if I can get them done earlier, I think that'll be good. But I don't want to do that when I have this ball floating around. So I want to finish this, get it to just a little tail, put it on, try it on, and then do the sleeves. This has actually been perfect. It's now at a point of it's just knit for X amount of inches. And so I've been using this for meetings, where like I'll use it for language classes, all of that I can't think has moved to this project. Which makes me really happy because it means that I can keep progressing it without trying to progress it. And here is my little stitch marker from my first year of 12 cast-ons. This was day number 9. Yeah, I'm very, very excited to get this one done. Very excited to be able to wear it because we are in t-shirt weather at the moment. And yeah, so this one I've been using as one of my tea knit along projects. And it has been so great to get it to that point because, yeah, if it hadn't been for the tea knit along, that one would still be sitting waiting for work. And now it's like the colour work is done. So good. Oh, I didn't put that one back in. I don't need this in the bag anymore, but I am keeping it there because when I finish the t-shirt, I'm going to want to show you all the yarn together. The next one that I've been working on, also part of the tea knit along, is the sundial tee. This one I have done quite a bit. I say quite a bit. It's only since I finished the colour work of the other one have I really been focusing on this at all. I did it for Scrappy Sunday and a little bit extra, and then it kind of went back into the wait until the colour work is done. Now the colour work's done. I've pulled this out a few times, and it is really, really easy once you start to just want to finish the next colour and then the next colour and then the next colour. I think this is technically the back. Let's not pull them off the needles. But that is a bit of an idea of how this is going to look if I do the same colours on the front and the back. I do have a question mark on that because I'm using scraps and I need to double check whether or not I'm going to have enough to do the same colours on both. And to do that, I need to, before I start the next colour, choose the colour, weigh it, knit the full repeat of the colour and weigh it again to see how much I actually use. And then that will tell me whether or not I'll have enough to mirror the front and the back. I don't know if I'm loving this or not, to be honest, in terms of the big bit of yellow and lime green right there. But I am loving making it, and I am just pulling things randomly out of the bag. It is a curated collection of colours. Like I did pick autumny, I don't know if that's technically autumny, but like I chose the colours and put them into a bag, and as they're coming out, I'm just kind of thinking maybe is there enough contrast to get a bit of a difference. But yeah, I'm not sure that I love this, but I am sure that I will love it and I will wear it because it's just so much fun and I'm enjoying knitting it. I did put on this one the sheep stitch marker that I got from Ange from Yarn and Yarns when I saw her in person recently. Yeah, so this one, in light of everything else that is happening, I am about to put this one aside for a little bit, try and get some birthday knitting done, but that knit along will go until the end of June. So I'm like, I've still got time to come back and do more of that. I think at this point I want to finish the Alpine Bloom by the end of June, and I don't think that's going to be an issue. The Sundial Tee, if I don't finish it by the end of June, that's totally fine. I've made progress. It's now in an I can pick it up and work on this very easily stage. So that's a win even if I don't finish it. And I will just say here, I did wind up the yarn for the Tegna. I watched Emily Vordenburn's tea cast on vlog, which was quite fun. Hi, Emily. And she wound up yarn for the Tegna and realised that her two cakes were quite different. Same dye lot, same colour, but quite different, which you get with variegated yarn. And so I did look, I have 3 of these skeins, and before I wound them up, I had a quick look and there was one that looked a little different. So I chose the 2 that looked most similar. And then last night I was looking at them wound up and I was like, one of them does look more yellow than the other. But I think they're close enough that I will just do it and see how I go. Yeah, I haven't started the Technique yet. Honestly, I'm not sure at this point if I'm going to, because I'm trying to progress other things. But I did look at it. It's bottom up knitting and all of the laces at the beginning. So at the bottom. So if I cast it on and work through the lace for a few days, then I have more vanilla knitting, and that's always a win in summer. So I'm thinking I might do that. So the last thing I have to show you is new yarn. I wanted to participate in Carla from Carla Knits. I think it's the Memorial Day hat knit along, where you can knit any hat, any pattern from the 22nd of May to the 25th of May. The only thing I think is you have to cast it on during that time. You don't have to finish it during that time. And so I saw Carla's been doing the tea knit along, and I've been watching her podcasts, and I saw that she was doing this and I was like, that could be really fun. And I had a pattern. It's the Primrose Beret by Audrey Borrego, who has a lot of patterns for free now. And so it's one of her patterns which is now free. And it's just a beret. And I've been wanting a beret for in between weather for a while. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to at least start that, even if I don't finish it. And so I had a look through my stash, and I didn't have a fingering weight yarn that was a solid that I hadn't put aside for another project. That was a colour that I would wear by itself. A lot of my fingering weight yarn I have bought with that are solid colours. Excuse me. I have bought with Fair Isle in mind. So it's got a range of colours that together I would wear, but individually not necessarily. Anyway, so I mentioned this to my husband, and it's Mother's Day in Poland on Tuesday, and he went and got some yarn that he already had set aside for me and chose one of the colours. He had a few different skeins, and he chose one of the colours that he thought would be a good colour for me to make a beanie out of, a beret. So this is BC Garn Bio Shetland. This one is colour 53, and it is 100% pure wool, which I'm assuming is Shetland wool because it's called Bio Shetland. And this is the colour that he chose. I love it. It's going to be similar to my hair, but enough of a pop to be different. The other options that he had were green, and one of them was almost the exact shade of our curtains, so he didn't want me to have that as a hat, and the other one was very dark, and he thought a brighter beret would be nice, and I am very, very happy with this. I love it. So the pattern, I've only just started, this is all I have done. The cast on and a couple of rounds. So this one is, I'm doing it on Licker needles, which is new for me. I bought these Licker Driftwood. I bought these when I was in England from Tipping Norton. I wanted to try them and they were there in person, and so I bought 2.5 millimeters so I can use them for socks. And then the first thing I'm making with them is a beanie. I have to say my first thoughts are they're very sticky. It is wood, and they feel beautiful and smooth, but I'm finding it quite sticky for the yarn. In this case, I'm not minding it too much because I have a lot of needle stitches on the needles for such a small amount of needle, right? I've got a lot of stitches on each needle, and so they're not falling off, so I'm not minding it. And I'm also using like I believe it's a non-superwash Shetland for this. So it's a stickier yarn as well as a stickier needle. So I'm going to see how I go with it. It's the first day of the Memorial Day hat knit along. I'll try and edit this in time for you guys to join in if you're wanting to. No promises though, because you never know what life is going to throw at you. So yeah, I'm going to try and do this. After I finish the brim of the beret, it goes up to I think a 3.5. So I've got a 9-inch 3.5 that I found, but I don't know where the bigger 3.5 needles are. So I have to have a look and see. I do have Chowgoo twist shorties, I think, so I might be able to find, like, make a 12-inch or something out of that, which is better than a 9-inch at least. Anyway, so that is there. I will work on that a bit more today. And yeah, over the weekend, because that's an early Mother's Day present. And Mother's Day is on the 26th and this knit along finishes on the 25th. I don't think I'm going to need a beret for Mother's Day, but if I could finish by Mother's Day or even on Mother's Day, which would be one day late, I think that would be really fun. I think that is all of my projects that I've... Oh, no, wait. No, I take it back. I have a few more things in this bag over here that... Hang on. All right. Okay, I have a few more things. Actually, I have a few more finishes that I forgot about. I've been making some totes. They're not lined, but I've been doing French seams. So French seams means when you sew it to start with, you sew it right side out and you sew down, and then you flip the fabric inside out and you sew down, and so you're actually enclosing the seam inside that second seam, and so you end up with this really lovely finished seam. I've done that for all three of these bags. They're basically, I mean, they're the same, they're just different fabric or something. These ones I had cut out ages ago. I'd sewed them together quite a while ago, and all I needed to do was hem the top and add on the straps. And when I was unpacking, I found the box that had these three in it, and I was like, that is such an easy finish. Why have I not finished it? So I did exactly that. I sat down, I hemmed the tops, and I added the straps. The straps, I just did a bit of a crisscross to make them solid, and I did fold up the bottoms to enclose that seam. This is just a woven, can't think of the word of it, but like, I just picked this up from a patchwork shop. The fabric for this one, I'm pretty sure I got from Spotlight Australia, and it is a decorator fabric, so it's a thicker fabric. I just thought it was really pretty. And the other two are both the same fabric, also decorator fabrics, but not quite as thick. And it is Friends. So this one I have a black handle on, and the other one I have a tape measure handle on. So all I did for these is I lay a tape measure on and just made sure that the handles were the same distance from either side. And then when I was doing the second one, I just lay it flat and lined them up with the ones that were already there. So yeah, this was a super easy finish. Got one more box out of the way, and I have 3 totes, which I don't really need. Yeah, I don't really need, but I've got them and they're no longer in my sewing pile, they're now in my shopping pile. Or I might give some away as gifts. Actually, I think I originally bought them for gifts, but that was so long ago I can't quite remember. The other thing that I have been working on is I pulled out my acorn socks. I've been calling them squirrel socks, but they're acorn socks, and did another few rounds on these. This is also part of, this one even has the tag, day 10 of the 12 cast-ons from this year. So this is one of the 15 pairs of socks. And I've done the leaves and the acorns, and I've just started the squirrels. So this lives next to my bed, and then if I come to bed and I'm not quite ready to sleep, I pull this out and do a few rounds or whatever. This is the colour that I'm using for the leaves. I'm trying to think if I've actually cut any out or not, because there are little bits of white in here and I'm not sure. I'm using scraps. So this one is Rosarios, or maybe this is Performance Cool Wool. That's what that is, I think. Hand-dyed scrap, and drops Fable for the cuff, which is colour 101. So yeah, these are, I forgot they were in here. These, it's a pattern by Charlotte, or Charlotte Stone of Stone Knits. And this is one of the independently published patterns, not in one of her books. She has a third book coming out called Whimsical Colourwork Socks, and I'm so excited to see what the patterns in that are. I don't have her second book yet, Charming Colourwork Socks. I have Joyful Colourwork Socks. And I'm not buying another one until I've knit enough from the first one to warrant buying another one. But at the moment, I've got 2 of her socks on the needles that I've bought from that aren't in her book anyway. They're just independently published. So I'm working on them. All right, I think that is now everything that I have been actually knitting on. But I do have some knit-alongs to share with you. So the first one, I've already mentioned, Carla Knits Memorial Day Hat Knit-along. There's also the tea knit-along, which I've mentioned that I'm hosting. Because I'm now trying to stash down, there are a few people hosting stash downs or scrappy knit-alongs. And so there's Thestashdowndiaries has an elder stash, which is just try and use your oldest yarn. If your oldest yarn was bought yesterday, then still that counts because that's your oldest yarn, but it's trying to use oldest yarn. I have not put like a date on that, but like this, I bought 3 or 4 years ago, and I only started buying yarn really 6 years ago. And so, you know, 3 years is not my oldest, but it is some of my oldest because I didn't have a huge amount that I bought in those first years. So, you know. Anyway, elder stash, Thestashdowndiaries. Then there's a stash down, both Carla of Carla Knits and Grumpy Sheep Happy Llama, so Robin and Sylvie of Grumpy Sheep Happy Llama have a stash down knit along. And elder stash and stash down are very similar, just elder stash is trying to use the oldest of your stash. Then there are some scrappy knit alongs, so Grumpy Sheep Happy Llama also are doing a scrappy knit along, and Ange from Yarn and Yarns is doing a scrappy knit along. I will be linking all of these people's YouTube channels down below. If you want to find more out about these, you can go watch their YouTube. As far as I'm aware, they're being hosted, all of these are being hosted on Ravelry. So if you go to their YouTube, follow that to Ravelry, you'll find them. But I'm just going to link their YouTube pages. And then the reason I wrote all these down, by the way, is partly so I know what I'm actually participating in, and partly so I have motivation to keep going. There's another knit along that's about to start in a few days, and that I think it starts on the 25th, so Monday. That is the Summer Sock Camp. Summer Sock Camp is back, guys. This is something that Kaye of the Crazy Sock Lady has hosted since, I don't know if 2020 was the first year. I think I found it in 2021. And I learnt to knit socks during summer sock camp in 2021 during the second year that it was running. She has, like, her vanilla sock pattern is basically what I do for everything. The Christmas socks that I'm knitting at the moment, Vanilla Socks on Magic Loop by Kaye of the Crazy Sock Lady. I don't even know if I mentioned that. Like, this is where I learnt to knit socks. This is still how I knit socks for the most part. Summer sock camp. It is not a physical camp. You do not need to register. It is just knit socks. If you want to enter for prizes, that's Instagram and Ravelry. But it's just knitting socks. And if you want to learn to knit socks, there's great support in the groups. Kaye has a whole lot of tutorials. It's a lot of fun. So that's the 25th of May till the 31st of August. So the end of summer in the Northern Hemisphere. Well, I don't know if technically summer finishes then, but in Poland, school starts back on the 1st of September. So it's end of summer for me anyway. So, Emily, hi Emily again, of Wardenburn asked if I was going to do summer sock camp. And I was like, yeah, probably. Like, I have a lot of other things I'm working on. And then the more that it got close, the more I was like, well, yes, I am going to do summer sock camp because it's so much fun. But I also have a lot of other things that I need to work on. And I do have lots of socks that I'm knitting for my 12 cast-ons day 10. Like, there's plenty of socks for me to work on. But I couldn't resist putting together a basket. And in my defense, this was the smallest pretty basket that I had, and so I just had to fill it. So here is my basket. It's a bit nuts. Let me take you through it. And let me start by saying I'm not necessarily going to knit with all of these yarns. I just wanted to pick out just a selection. So I'm going to take you through the ones that I did pick out and why I picked them out. The first one is this one. This is one that I dyed and I caked up a while ago to knit, and I've not knit it, but it's fun colours and I want to knit it. So I put that one in. I pulled these three out. These are 3 minis that I dyed. And I was thinking, Kaye, as part of Summer Sock Camp, has come out with a new pattern, which hopefully will be released on Monday. And it's got hearts. She has a logo. The sock is designed to match the sock in the logo. And there are sock sets that Mama Just Knits, I think it's Mama Just Knits, is selling. And she keeps selling out. I'm not buying a sock set from America. Shipping on a single sock set is insane. So I just went and had a look, and I have these. I have a whole lot of plain sock colours for colourwork socks that I could pull from. But I thought this would be fun. I could use, heel, toe, cuff, do the hearts in 2 colours, and I just need to find a colour as like the plain background. So I'm not sure what colour I'm going to use. I don't have a full skein of hand-dyed sock yarn that is tonal. They're all variegated, so I'll find something to go with them, but that's what I was thinking with that one. I have one of my newest skeins from Siobhan's Craft that I bought at Wonderwall. It is a Polworth nylon 8515, and I've never knit socks with Polworth, so I thought that would be a fun option and also very fun colours. I have this one, which does not have a tag, and I'm not sure if the tag's fallen off in my stash or what's happened, but this is Woolala. Woolala. It is a Woolala, maybe. Maybe that's what they were going for. Polish dyer. I bought this at Yarnfest. Was it Yarnfest? I think it's Yarnfest in Wrocław. Not the same year I bought the other one. This one I bought when I was there with my mum, and I thought it's a 50-gram skein, perfect for shorty socks in summer. So I pulled that one out. This next one is also particularly thinking shorty socks in summer. This is What Mustard Made. I did buy this. I believe What Mustard Made is based in the UK, and so I did buy this and pay shipping. This was one that I bought very soon after I moved to Poland. So it's a Burt micro striping. That means it's like 4.5, 5 years old, which means this counts as out of stash too, right? It is a BFL superwash sock and it's micro striping. So I have a pair of these. I bought 3 skeins, one with the navy, one with a turquoise, and one with a pink. And the pink one I've already knit and worn for the last however many years. So I was like, it's time to do another one of them. And again, fun, bright pops of colour here. And another one that I bought just after I moved to the EU and have not knit yet is Hedgehog Fibres sock yarn, and this is the colourway Deep End. Now, Hedgehog Fibres, I really, really wanted the Dragonfly colourway, and when I finally went to buy it, they did not have the Dragonfly colourway in stock. I have seen it a few times since then, and I just have not been able to spend the amount that a skein of Hedgehog Fibres yarn costs. I don't know if I got this one on sale or if it was just I'd been wanting to try their yarn for so long. It feels delightful, but because it was such an expensive yarn, I also haven't knit with it, which is kind of silly. So this is made in Ireland. It's a 90% merino wool, 10% nylon. And I'm going to make socks. I'm going to use the yarn that I have been hoarding because I wasn't sure what sock pattern I should make. And you know what? I may just do vanilla socks and just let the yarn shine and enjoy the process. So that is on my list of things to make. Just look at those blues. For all that Hedgehog Fibres is expensive, at least for what I usually spend on yarn, is expensive, they have beautiful colours. They also have a whole lot of free patterns, which is really awesome. But yes, I'm going to use it, see if it stands up to the hype. Very excited. The rest of the yarn in here is Novita Nala, and it is a whole bunch of different colorways. This is 100 grams, 260 meters. I also have some other Novita, which isn't Nala, it's another one, which is more of 100 grams, 200 meters, so more of a worsted-ish. I think this is technically a DK, not a sport. It is 75-25 wool polymid, and it has recommended needle sizes on the back, so I have put needles in here that match the recommendation. I am going to knit some colourwork socks. I haven't picked out which ones. I've mentioned this before, I think, and I had these in a project bag, but I brought them out of the project bag because I thought they just look so much prettier this way. I want to do a whole bunch of DK weight socks that have colourwork on the leg and then either a ribbed foot or a plain foot, because I use DK weight socks a lot in summer, and I wanted to make, I think I wanted them to go with my like ankle boots, not my knee-high boots. So I think I was looking for like legs about this big, so doing a cuff, doing a little bit of colourwork, and then knitting the foot. I think that's what I was thinking, because I wanted thicker socks, but I didn't want like super high socks to go under my big boots. I wanted them for my ankle boots or my snowshoes or whatever. So yeah, like not super long legs. So yeah, I haven't picked patterns for them, but I do want to do that. I don't know if I'm going to use all of these colors or if I'm going to do like one color main, one color work. But they're all the same yarn. And so I've put them all in here. I'm going to put the rest of these back, and I'm just going to have fun when it comes to knitting socks in the summer, especially because the Christmas ones don't need to be done by Christmas this year anymore. So even though there are 12 cast on and I want to get them done, the pressure is off there, so I can have fun and knit myself some socks, because I knit so many socks for presents that my socks always take a back seat. So I'm going to knit some socks for me and have fun. I'm my kid's teacher this year, so that can be a teacher gift, right? A teacher gift, right? All right. The other thing that I pulled out, I did a little look of what I wanted to get done for the next few gifts that are not Christmas gifts that are coming up, and this was one of them. Oh, I'm still on the body. Okay, so this is the Kookaburra by Jana, who is a Polish designer who lives in Sydney, Australia, and it's called Kookaburra after the Australian bird. I am still on the ribbing of this one. If I could have this done in the next 2 weeks, that would be really great, but having this and the dress both finished in the next 2 weeks will be a push, and so then my stretch goal for this one would be the end of June. But yeah, so I've got the ribbing down here. It is just a 1x1 rib, so that should be pretty simple if I can just work on that for a little bit. However, I do have 2 sleeves, which will be, I believe, moss stitch and quite large. So I can put this into rotation and see if I can get them done. Got some work to do, but I am very close to finishing. I mean, I'm reasonably close to finishing that. End of June is doable. I think that is everything today. I don't know what I'm going to be able to show you next time because I have so many things that I've been jumping around to and from, and I have no idea what I'm actually going to finish or progress or work on. I am back to doing my 15 minutes of spinning in the morning, which was really lovely. The kids woke me up this morning early and I was like, okay, I'll just start spinning a bit early. And so I had a bit more making time than I normally would this morning. But yeah, that's everything. I would love to know what you've been working on. Are you going to participate in Summer Sock Camp? Have you or did you participate in the Carla Knits Memorial Day hat knit along? Are there other knit alongs that you're participating in? And just, yeah, what are you making? What are you enjoying at the moment? I am going to go and have lunch with my family, and I will see you again next time. Have a great day. Bye.